In one season I went from this to this. I'll show you the things that helped me the most in my journey to reach this level, and hopefully you'll be able to use some of what you learned from this video to break into those higher ranks yourself.
Yes! This'll be fun! Right?
Yo, I'm Bonks, and I've been playing League for about 5 years. Until this season, the highest I had ever climbed was plat, and I never really tried to go any further. Partly because I couldn't, and partly because, well, I hated the game. And I still do. No, seriously, why do I still play this shit? But this season, I challenged myself to see how far I could go. I thought, I'm tired of being a low elo scrub, and I'm tired of my friends calling me trash at the game. I didn't want to be hard stuck anymore, and to be honest, I just wanted to get good, man. So yeah, I hit Masters. And was it worth playing 700 League games over the span of a single year and watching several hours of high elo Korean gameplay just to improve and gain some LP? Probably not. But did you see that rank up animation? Man, look how cool that is. Come on. How could you not want to throw your life away playing this game? Nah, but for real, that hit of dopamine you get from improving is probably the only reason I still play League, despite how depressing it is. And seeing that sick rank up animation really amplifies that hit, you know? So I'm making this video hoping to give some of you an idea as to how I actually climbed, so maybe some of you will be able to get that same hit I did. It's probably not going to be possible to condense everything I did into a short video, so I'm not going to go into details that are too specific, but I'll still try my best. Also, even though I did start my climb from plat, even if you're a lower rank, maybe bronze, silver, gold, or even iron, this video will still be helpful to you in one way or another, as long as you play mid. So, with that in mind, let's get into it. It's pretty common knowledge that in League of Legends, if you're looking to improve and rank up fast, then the best way to do that is just to become a one trick. Yes, I know, it's shameless, but there's a pretty good reason all the high elo streamers and many pros started out as one tricks in the beginning themselves. That good reason being that if you play only one champion, you'll be much less focused on pulling off that champion's mechanics and combos, and you can direct your focus to improving at the game in general instead. So, with the explanation out of the way, I suppose it's finally time for me to confess my sins. I'm a Zoe main. I know, I'm ashamed too. I've already apologised to both my parents, don't worry. But despite what most people think about Zoe, she's actually quite a hard champ to play. She's a very squishy champ that heavily relies on you having good movement and positioning in teamfights if you want to survive later in the game. And if you actually plan to utilise Zoe's strengths, you have to have incredibly refined trading skills and really good spacing throughout the entire laning phase. So, what made me go with Zoe? If I had to give you the biggest reason, I'd definitely say it was her laning. Her laning is just incredibly strong. Like, disgustingly strong. I'm convinced that if you play well enough, you can smash any matchup into the ground. Literally any matchup. Except Galio. Fuck Galio. She can do this because she has the perfect combination of wave clear, range, trading, and all-in capability, which pretty much give you the tools to outplay any opponent. Most champions you try will have some, if not loads, of unwinnable matchups, but I feel like with Zoe, there's always something you can try and do to win the lane. So now you're thinking, okay, she has a great laning phase, but so what? But that's just it. In my opinion, laning is the most important part of any solo queue game by a long shot. It's the phase of the game where you have the most control over what happens, and it's also where players make the most mistakes, so it should go without saying that if you want to climb the ladder effectively, that's the part of your game that you must refine the most. I mean, just think about it, the longer a game goes on, the more you're relying on your teammates to do their jobs and not get caught out. Looking at you ADC players. Being able to dominate lane and snowball the game before it gets to that point is what allows you to climb quickly. But laning is hard. Really hard. And while it may seem quite simple on the surface, there's way more to it than you might think. If you're aiming to reach the higher ranks, mastering the fundamentals of laning is a must, and I'm going to teach you what those fundamentals are and how to do that. So, to jump right in, the first fundamental of laning is trading. Trading during the laning phase is basically a combination of lots of different things, but personally, I like to break it down into 3 things: spacing, timing your abilities, and landing skill shots. Well, I mean, if we're being realistic, does Zoe really need skill shots? If you don't know what spacing is, it's essentially the ability ability to stand just outside your opponent's attack range while keeping them within yours. It's a skill that takes loads of time to improve, since it relies on you having knowledge on the ranges of all the champions you could potentially face. But being conscious of it in game can definitely speed up that improvement process a lot. The players that have the best spacing usually click extremely fast and close to their champion, so try to do this when you play. There's also a website called loldodgegame.com that has loads of mini games that you can play to help improve your mechanics. I'll put the link to that in the description. My spacing was weirdly good from the start, probably because girls are constantly practicing on me in real life. As for timing abilities, you want to use abilities to poke whenever there's an opening. That may be when your opponent's abilities are on cooldown, or if they're looking to last hit a minion, since they won't be able to trade back. Good spacing is what creates these openings, and abusing these openings is what leads to you winning the lane. Lastly, you want to consider landing skill shots. Humans are creatures of habit, and that's a weakness that we can exploit. So how do we go about doing that? Whenever you fire an ability at an opponent, take note of which way they dodge. Most people dodge the same way throughout the entire game, and when you realise this, it becomes super easy to nail people with bubbles over and over throughout the entire game and just get loads of kills. It's actually nuts how people just never learn. So yeah, that's about it for trading. I could go much more in depth, but I'd rather this video didn't run for hours long. I just quickly want to add that as you play games, make sure you know how important trading is and make sure you optimize it, especially if you're playing Zoe. Improving my trading skills in lane was probably the main thing that got me from Diamond to Masters. And like, call me a sadist, but crushing people in lane and making them tilt off the face of the earth is just so satisfying. How could you not want to become a beast at this? Whew, that was a lot of information. Let's cool off a bit and watch this cool earth clip that I got a while ago. Moving on to the next fundamental of laning, we have CSing and wave management. A lot of people think CSing is just a matter of sitting in practice stall and last hitting minions for 8 hours, but it's so much more than that. There are a number of ways to manipulate a wave in League, and it would take quite a long time for me to explain all those ways, so I won't be doing that in this video. If you don't know anything about wave management, then I'd suggest you look at skill caps or pro guides on YouTube. There are plenty of tutorials up on that stuff already. Just watch some of those and you should have the basics down in no time. Once you know all the techniques, it comes down to knowing when you should be using them. There are so many different factors to consider that I could probably make an entire new video about it. If this video somehow blows up and gets like, I don't know, 1,000 likes, I'll make a more in-depth video on wave management with Zoe. But for now I'd suggest watching high elo replays on YouTube and taking note of how they open the lane depending on the matchup. You can find these replays on the Domi-Sum replay channel on YouTube. They seem to upload a new game every 20 seconds, so you should be able to find VODs for any matchup really easily. If you want something Zoe specific, I'd suggest learning what a slow push is and abusing the hell out of it. As you can see from the example I've got playing on screen at the moment, you want to last hit minions with autos and use abilities to poke and zone your laner away from the wave so that they can't clear it before it crashes into the tower. Crashing a massive wave into tower gives you so much time to get a kill as Zoe while they're catching that wave, and if you do end up getting a kill, they're going to miss so much golden experience that it's not even funny. Finally, onto the last fundamental of laning, we have jungle tracking. If you're playing Zoe, or any other immobile mage for that matter, not being able to track the enemy jungler is going to cause massive problems for you, since you won't have enough self-peel to survive any ganks. It's one of those things that I always thought would be insanely hard, but it's actually quite easy once you get the hang of it. When I first started to work on this, I tried to keep track of what side the enemy jungler was on, nothing more. If you practice doing that for long enough, eventually it will get to the point where you'll be able to work out roughly where the enemy team's jungler is, just based on your feeling. I mean sure, if you're aiming to be a pro and reach rank 1, you can learn to count the enemy jungler's CS and learn how long each rotation takes, but most of the time this is completely unnecessary. Jungle tracking is something that you'll naturally get better at as you play more games. But if you're looking for an active way to improve, I suggest you go into your own replays, disable vision of the enemy team and try to track the enemy jungler as you watch the game from your own perspective. At different points throughout the game you can turn the vision back on to see how accurate you were and then go from there. It's important that you keep jungle tracking in mind as much as possible so you can build up that feeling that I was talking about a second ago. In terms of ward spots, I would suggest these two places if you're on blue side and vice versa if you're on red side. They're perfect for protecting yourself from ganks, but to actually make use out of them you have to be constantly checking your map, so bear that in mind. So that's all for laning. If you're looking to climb like I did, then it's super important that you master all the things that I just mentioned. As you go about doing that, you'll probably learn about even more of the nuanced things that I didn't get to mention here, since I'm trying to keep the video so short. Alright, so finally I'm going to quickly go over runes and the different build paths you can run on Zoe. As for runes, I always run this page, every game, no exceptions. No rune really comes close to Electrocute, as it gives you insane all-in potential, and the poke in lane is really strong as well if you can proc it enough times. Also, if you're anything like me and you miss all your spells when it counts the most, you can just ignite people and proc Electrocute with your sparkles from W, and you'll get the kill anyway like most of the time. Inspiration secondary just helps you to survive in lane, and I've already talked about how important I think laning is in this video. And to quickly run through builds, most of the time you're going to want to run Ludens as your mythic item. The Andres can sometimes work if the enemy team stacks a lot of HP, but most of the time you don't want to be picking Zoe into tanks anyway. For the second item you want to be running Zhonya's or Banshees. They're so gold efficient that it's stupid not to buy them second, to be honest. For the third item you probably want to run Deathcap. It's a massive power spike and gives insane damage. And then Horizon Focus is pretty strong fourth, and it's quite cheap as well, so it's good to get it. You very rarely see games running to the last item, but if one does, then get Morello or Void Staff. The choice depends on the enemy team though. Finally, always buy Dark Seal, always, every single game as soon as possible. At max stacks for 350 gold, it's giving you 65 AP. That is insanely efficient. Even if it has 0 stacks, it's worth buying as well, so always buy Dark Seal. Medjay's is a weird one, because when you upgrade Dark Seal to Medjay's, you don't actually gain any stats immediately. So if you think you can stack it and survive for a long time, then yeah, sure, go ahead. But a lot of the time, you'll probably find that it's just not worth it to upgrade the Dark Seal. Here's the entire build if you wanted to screenshot it or memorize it or whatever. So that's about it for this video. This is my first time ever doing something like this, and it was pretty fun, so I might consider doing some more stuff soon. If you have any questions that the video might not have answered, drop me a DM on Twitter. I check Twitter pretty much every day, so if you contact me there I'll be sure to respond. The link for that will be in the description. Or if you want to tweet at me to let me know how your climb with Zoe's going, I'll probably see it. You can also feel free to ask any questions in the comments, but I can't promise that I'll see them all. So yeah, thanks for watching. In a bit, lads.